In the following short video clip, we would like to demonstrate safe public conduct when leaving the house for essential errands during the lockdown period. Masks are in short supply globally and should only be worn by healthcare professionals who are trained in their use. Members of the public may also wear a mask if they are unwell to protect those around them from their respiratory droplets. Please note on the left-hand side that masks can actually be harmful if not worn correctly, and on the right-hand side, the correct positioning of the straps. These are the do's and don'ts for your morning routine. Upon waking, instead of touching your face whilst inspecting your appearance and then briefly washing your hands without soap, consider rather doing the following. Consider shaving off your beard. The rationale behind this is that respiratory droplets that may be potentially infectious could settle in your facial hair and act as an ongoing source of infection. The other rationale is that if you are forced to wear a mask, the presence of facial hair could affect the seal of your mask. If you are a female, consider tying your hair up out of your face. The next step is to wash your hands according to the WHO's 8 steps of hand washing. Firstly, palm to palm, rubbing in circular motions. Next, rub the back of your hand with interlocking fingers. After that, rotational movements, clasping your fingers. And then rotational movements of the thumb in the clasped hand on both left and right sides. Lastly, interlocking fingers, palm facing palm, and then cleaning of your fingernails on the palms of your hands. This should be done using adequate amounts of soap, finishing off with the wrists. Rinsing thoroughly, and then drying your hands on a clean towel. These are the do's and don'ts when leaving your house. Only leave the house when absolutely essential. We do not recommend wearing of gloves by members of the public, as it prevents proper hand hygiene practices. Don't take large bunches of unnecessary keys with you, and don't take your whole wallet or handbag. We recommend performing hand hygiene. This can be done with an alcohol hand sanitizer or with soap and water using the WHO's 8 steps. Take only the bare essentials with you in the clear plastic bag. Next, we will demonstrate the do's and don'ts whilst commuting. Here you can see a person entering his car incorrectly wearing gloves. He touches multiple surfaces without sanitizing his hands. In the public transport setting, this would mean touching potentially contaminated communal surfaces. Here we demonstrate the correct way to enter a vehicle. Note that this gentleman is not wearing gloves and is cognizant of not touching surfaces unnecessarily. Next, he wipes down frequently touched surfaces and performs hand hygiene. It only takes a few moments to protect yourself. Next, we'd like to demonstrate the do's and don'ts whilst in a public space. Here you can see a gentleman enter the shop with his mask. He touches multiple items, potentially contaminating all of them. He then proceeds to pay touching common surfaces and handling money, which is a potentially highly contaminated surface. Here you can see our gentleman entering the shop, making use of every opportunity to sanitize his hands. He's already decided what essential items he'd like to purchase, and he chooses this, touching as little as possible. He then proceeds to the checkout and pays with tap to buy, again touching as little as possible. He exits the shop and performs hand hygiene. These are the do's and don'ts of social interactions. Here you can see our same gentleman still wearing his contaminated gloves. He touches multiple surfaces with these gloves, including his telephone and his keys. He then meets his friend and remembers not to shake hands, but touches elbows with the elbow that he's just sneezed into, sharing again his cell phone, potentially contaminated from his dirty gloves. Here our gentleman exits his car and correctly covers his sneeze. He makes sure to avoid all physical contact and stand 2 meters away, whilst not sharing any personal belongings. Next, we'd like to demonstrate the do's and don'ts when returning home. Here our gentleman enters the home and leaves his contaminated keys, his dirty single-use mask, and his contaminated gloves on a communal surface. He also takes off his jacket and his shoes, leaving all of these in a communal space. In addition to performing hand hygiene upon your return, we recommend cordoning off an area in your house close to the entrance, where you can take off your potentially contaminated items of clothing, put them into a plastic receptacle for washing later. You can also leave your shoes in this area. Remember to adequately sanitize any items that left the house with you. Wipe them down and dispose of the tissue appropriately. These essential steps will protect you and your loved ones.